Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, it is my honor to welcome our guest, and I have Roman here, guys. And I want to thank Roman for coming. There's a couple of things that I personally deem very, very expensive. One, time, 24 hours being given to all of us. How we utilize that will determine what our life is all about. And I want to thank Roman for coming and spending some of that quality commodity here with me and you at Threads of Enlightenment. The other is his journey. The journey is the tool by which we are created. Who we are today came from that journey. And we want to talk to Roman, pick his brain, get some insights, find out all the tools that he incorporated into his life to make him into this powerful human being that we're about to have a conversation with. Roman, thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure, man. Tell the folks the stuff that you are doing today. What is the way by which you are serving others while you're here on this planet?
Definitely. So, what I do for myself is I act and model, but outside of that, how I help other people is I actually help transform their minds and bodies both. I'm a high performance coach in addition to the acting and modeling I do, and I help just boost their overall confidence, energy, happiness, and even just to help, promote better sleep for them too.
Yeah, I know sleep is a very important part of the whole process. And there's a big business about making billions of dollars with people with lack of sleep. And it's a matter of just fine tuning and bringing in some small routines into your life that will assist you in getting some good sleep. So, one of our custom here that we do at Threads of Enlightenment, Roman, is we go back to the first place by which we start our existence, if you will, and that is the family. When mom and dad brought us home, kissed us on the forehead, dropped us in this crib, and then they began to program you and I from their point of view in their life, and all the families around us contribute to that. How was your family life like as a young man growing up?
Yeah, definitely. My family life was essentially and basically just having me, get up, get ready, go to school every day, come back home, just do homework and rinse and repeat. A lot of it was tradition. My family was, you know, pretty free flowing, but they also were pretty big on tradition, going to church, going to school, and just, repeating the cycle and process. And yeah, that was a lot of how my family life was. They weren't very unhealthy, but they weren't very conscious about their health at the same time. So I would say, from my perspective, when I was growing up with family, they weren't always the healthiest. I mean, they weren't really unhealthy, but they didn't really pay too much mind to health either.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's common with most of us. We have our family traditions with all the meals that we eat,
Yeah,
and much of the family traditional meal are not healthy meal unless your your family,
exactly.
your ancestors were those type or leaning in that direction. We were eating everything that is um, comfort, as they say, but not healthy. So, as you growing
Exactly.
up in
Yeah.
this household, and um, and you have your comfort food. I'll tell you a story about my dad. My dad had a heart attack, and in his 60s, and my culture is all about fatty foods and stuff like that in some dishes that we have. And one day he asked me to take him out shopping, and I was like, "Sure, Dad, I'll take you out shopping." And so he had this particular store that he would go to, and so now here's this man, heart attack, taking all kinds of heart medicine. One of the funniest pictures I've ever seen. I actually had to take it because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And so I took him to the store, and this man who was at a heart attack, having all kinds of problems with his heart, is in this bucket, this big giant bucket that is selling pig feet and pigtail and everything that is
Oh
not
wow.
supposed to be eating. And he's in there, and I'm looking at him, and I had to take a picture about that because we talked to him so many times about that type of meal, and yet here he was, could not shake it, and I just had to take a picture of it. And I told him, I said, I just want to show you a picture of you killing yourself. And he laughed at me, but I told him, I said, you need to substitute those with other meats that will give you that flavor that you're after. So yeah, I just had to toss that in there because I know how family meals are, and the as much of tradition, but it's a pull that is hard to break away because I watched it with my dad. Even though he knew he
Yeah.
was sick, he couldn't pull away from it, and so it was really hard. So you grew up in that type of atmosphere and so forth. So how with your family? Um, you talked about health, and I didn't help. What was the relationship of food within your family? What was it utilized for? I know in ours was a lot of big family dinners and meetings and all that kind of stuff. What was it like in your family?
Yeah, so it was a combination between honestly growing up, this is where it wasn't always the healthiest. It was a combination of sometimes, pot roast and home cooked meals, which I would say was more healthy or aligned with healthy eating. But, my family would cheap out and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
want quick, easy fix meals. And we would have like fast food sometimes, which obviously isn't really one of the, it's really one of the unhealthiest things you
Yeah.
can do and eat. So fast food, also too, TV dinners. We would have a lot of TV dinners and just make those meals quick because my parents didn't really like cooking very often because they would always help us with homework. And then they were like, do we really want to also,
Yeah.
prep dinner too? So they would always typically get either
Yeah.
fast food
Yeah.
or TV dinners. And then maybe once in a while, like once or twice a week, there might be like a home cooked meal. But honestly, looking back on it, and the more I'm thinking about it now, we weren't really, especially by my standards now, we were not healthy with what we were doing and what we were eating.
Yeah. How big was your
Yeah.
family unit? How big was it? Was it consist of?
Yeah, so typically it was most of my family is actually in Wisconsin and other states like North Dakota, some in Colorado. But most of my family that I was around was really just my immediate family, my brother, my sister, and my mother and father. We mainly just lived together,
Okay.
and we lived in Arkansas, so like that's like a whole nother state, far, far away from, the Midwest and Wisconsin and North Dakota.
Yeah.
But yeah, we mainly just spent time with each
It's a
other.
beautiful
We
place.
it is, yeah, it is in a sense in the middle of in the middle of nowhere, but it is also very beautiful if you like nature. You can definitely learn to appreciate it with the
Yeah.
mountains um and hiking
I
that you can do
actually
too.
visited their beautiful nature. I loved it. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
beautiful nature.
Yeah, there's
You
some
guys
beautiful
had Arkansas
spots.
was beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. So here
Oh
you
yeah.
are, you're growing within this family, normal. All of us have that type of stuff. And you're moving through life. Um, how was your life with the folks outside of your family, meaning friends and stuff like that? You're obviously in school. What was your relationship like towards the outsiders of your family, if you will?
Yeah, definitely. So I would say it was more close knit. I didn't have like a ton of friends, but I did have a good few quality, really good friends that I would see typically I'd say about once, twice a week, maybe on the weekends. Just get together, play video games. And this is
Hmm.
really where my carefree lifestyle was with not just my activities, but also what I ate. I just ate anything that I would see. I would just lounge around, play some video games, and get together with friends, whoever they were. Typically, there were just a handful of friends so that I had, but they were quality friends, at least most of them. Some of them not so much anymore.
Hmm.
People come and go in your life, but yeah, it was. It was fun though while it
Yeah,
lasted, but I wasn't very conscious or aware of actually what I was putting in my body and what I was doing when I was around them with my activity level or lack thereof.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's normal. And most of us are like that. In my culture, we were out a lot. I'm much different than when I came here in the United States. I grew up in British Guiana, South America, and as kids, we would make these little small satchel with we put some rice and stuff like that, and then we would go into the woods for weeks. We would be gone, man. Coming out in a weekend when we were out of school, we would be gone for weeks into the woods and coming back out and
Oh, wow.
with sugar cane and all the different stuff. We started living off of the land and learning how to live off the land as young boys with our slingshot. I was pretty deadly with that stuff, by the way. So
Oh,
here you are, you're growing in
wow.
family, hanging out in America. You got your video games and so forth. And you in your conversation as you were talking, you have a uh, an insight or a leaning towards food and how and health. At what point of your life did you began to look at food and entertain health in a different manner than what you were growing up?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was, younger, obviously did not really care about what I was putting in my body, between
Yeah.
food and drink. But later on, it was around the time when my grandpa, and this was a really rough moment for me in my past life, but whenever my grandpa, passed away due to cancer, and he just, it's one of those things because he grew up as a veteran. He was a military um, you know, person in the military, but he wasn't really active in his later years. He fell off. He used to be very active and very, conscious of what he was doing with his body. But then as he grew older and got out of the military, he
Hmm.
just let his health go. And after that, he went downhill with his health and eventually passed away. It was really tough, for me to actually
Wow.
witness that. Obviously, I didn't see him die firsthand, but seeing the aftermath of that, that really did take a toll on my mental health and emotional
Yeah.
state. But after the fact, after all that was
Yeah.
said and done, that gave me, inspiration to not actually want to go down that same exact path or route for myself because I already knew that I wasn't taking care of my
Yeah.
body and I was eating like every sugar, filled food you could find and basically every candy on the planet. Like I was putting in my body and honestly wasn't really very conscious of it. But then after seeing that and seeing the outcome of his life, because he was addicted to sugar, he had a huge, huge, heavy sugar addiction
Yeah.
and that caused him to eventually get cancer in addition to not really putting sunscreen on. He didn't really ever wear sunscreen either, so all those
Yeah.
things in combination put him down that path, and then as a result that made me not want to do that for myself. So then I just changed my life. I changed what I ate. I changed what I did. I cut out sugar as much as I could. I also opted down the road. I started opting for organic and not having all the pesticides and chemicals that they actually pump into our foods. And that was something too I
Yeah.
researched shortly after or just around the time that he passed away that also inspired me to do some research on the internet and see really what's all in our foods and what are we really doing to our bodies and not even really knowing it. So all that with the research that really just made
Yeah.
me want to turn, over a new leaf, if you will, and not continue that same path or pattern
Yeah.
of my eating habits and my, lack of physical activity too.
Yeah. Yeah. How old were you when you had this insight um, with your grandfather passing, and you related to food? How old were you when that happened?
Definitely. So I started really focusing more on my foods when I was around, I'd say 16. Yeah, that's when I really started focusing on foods more. But it was really, I got really, really serious, especially when my grandpa passed away, because I did some prior research before he passed, but I didn't really focus too much on it.
Hmm.
And I still wasn't very, very, conscious about it. But it was about when I was 20 is when he passed. And that was a rough year when I was 20, seeing him pass away and dealing with that, situation.
Yeah.
But right around that time, that's when it really just inspired me to not, continue what I was doing from there.
Yeah. What prompted you? What started your journey, Roman, heading that way towards healthy lifestyle? What do you remember beyond the stuff? Was it just looking at your grandfather that caused that shift to begin, or was it something else that caused that shift to start before your grandfather had passed? You said you had started looking into it. What was it that you were going through in your life at that point that made you started to look towards a healthier lifestyle?
Yeah, I would say outside of my grandpa, because that was a huge factor that did play, a part in me wanting to transform what I was doing with my body
Yeah.
and what I was eating. But outside of that, I would have to say, seeing my brother also lift weights, seeing the positive impact that it had on his body with the transformation, because he used to be more skinny, but
Hmm.
then after seeing him lift weights, that definitely also made me want to change my body because I was actually very skinny, not very confident myself. So seeing him make that change with his
Yeah.
physical activity, that definitely motivated me too. And then also again, just the research that I was doing and seeing all the benefits of actually weightlifting, but also healthy eating. The fact that you can live longer, that you can
Yeah.
look younger and feel younger, and also just sleep better, because insomnia was also one thing that I've struggled with for much of my life. I would say I struggled with lack of sleep and not being able to shut my
Yeah.
mind off, if you will. So also all that too with the healthy eating definitely made it easy for me to make that decision because I didn't want to continue not getting sleep or proper sleep. That was another huge, huge thing.
Yeah. Yes. Sleep. I remember as a young man going to school at the time and working. And I worked at factory, actually Coca-Cola bottling company when I was going to school. And we worked all these crazy shifts at night and stuff like that. And the men would do some crazy things to try and not to sleep. Um, I remember some of the guys, because we were coming home strange hours in the morning. And these guys would tell the stories of what they would do in order to not sleep. Some of these guys would, in New York, in our winter, it was really, really cold. They would wind all the windows down and strip themselves naked to drive, man,
Oh, wow.
because of lack of sleep. And we've heard some horror stories. As a young man working in a factory, I'd hear some horror stories about these guys um, because of not being able to get enough sleep and how they would get into some serious situations. And yeah, it was for me, it was a fear factor that was instilled in me as I was listening to all these stories about sleeping and learning how to sleep, make sure I get enough sleep and stuff like that. Yeah, it's important for us to do that. And as I mentioned on the onset, there are industries that are making billions on the fact that many of us are not able to sleep and not learn how to manage stress and all the other things that contribute to the type of food that we eat, when we eat the food, how late we eat, all of these different things. Um, what we are doing before bed, drinking, and all the other things, as you learned, uh, doesn't work in conjunction with good sleep. So here you are, you started to read and study, Roman, and you're getting information. As you were gaining all of these information, how did you begin to incorporate it into your life to make those changes? Because here you are, you said earlier, you were eating every candy that you can get your hands on, and to walk away from stuff like that, and um,
Yeah.
it takes a mental battle now, um, uh, to begin to make the shift, in the sense, and it's also how determined you are as well, coupled with the fact that you want to get something. So how did you, as you began to gather all this information, how was it implementing it into your life?
Yeah, upon, just finding out all these facts and details about healthy eating, what really made it, easy for me to incorporate this was taking small steps and gradual steps and incorporating all this slowly into my meal and diet regimen, if you will, and just seeing what
Mm-hmm.
works, what doesn't work. And yeah, just taking small steps, not cutting all the, bad junk food out right away, because that, I mean, for some people it
Mm-hmm.
might work, but I'll be honest, for the grand majority of the world and population, it's not going to work. And it definitely wouldn't have worked for me, especially from day one. So just slowly and basically weaning myself off from these toxins, if you will, just cutting out each, sugar filled food slowly one by one. So every week or two, I would just eliminate a certain food for my diet. And then I would just go from there and just take it in small,
Yeah.
gradual increments and steps. And not, don't rush it. That's what I was saying to myself in my head. Don't rush this process. Definitely cleanse yourself, but do it as slow as you can so it's easier to stick to and stick with, because it is a mental battle. It is definitely a mental and even emotional battle,
Yeah.
because you're fighting all these emotions and all these thoughts in your head saying, well, that stuff tasted really good though, and I will feel maybe withdrawn if I don't have that
Mm-hmm.
certain food again, because your mind and brain, it is very much aligned with what you eat, and it definitely gets very familiar with what you're putting in your body. So just being more hyper aware and focused and fixated on what you're actually, looking at, consuming, and really just taking in on a daily basis, that will help a lot. So knowing that and just being more cognizant of what I was, looking at in the grocery store. And then also just really
Yeah.
not thinking about what I was eating in the past and trying to just forget as much of that as possible and just slowly step away from it. And that helped me the most, because I would, crave sugar a lot. I remember I actually really do remember, now that I'm thinking more about it, when I was working at a grocery store as a cashier when I was about 16 years old. I was 16 working at a grocery store, still in high school. And I had a huge sugar craving. Like, I would literally, when I wasn't checking out customers or anyone there at the store, I would literally just think in my head about
Yeah.
Twizzlers and all these candies that I would snack on, or what I might have for break. And I was like, all right, gotta have that, gotta have that. I
Uh,
just kept thinking about it. It was hard to step away from that, that thought process. And that's what
yeah.
sugar addiction does, just unhealthy food addictions in general, that it keeps in your, in your conscious, and it tries to stay there. It tries to stay in your mind and remain there as long as possible. So knowing that first, just really knowing that was a problem, and understanding that was an issue I had to get rid of, that was the very first step. But after that, I just gradually decreased all those foods by the week, or bi-weekly, if you will. And then after that, over time, I basically cleansed my body. And it's crazy because today I don't even have a cheat meal unless I want to. I just never really have a cheat meal because I don't have cravings anymore for sugars or any unhealthy foods or any toxic foods.
Yeah, it's there's a science. I tell people there's a science behind processed food. And the science behind processed food is the manipulation of your chemicals within body in your mind that causes reaction, basically causes addiction. And it is designed to cause the addiction so that you can consume as much as you can and of absolutely no nutritional value to the body, but it satisfies the mind. And in fact, it's just destroys the body because the body now has to deal with all of these different type of chemicals in order to, move it out of your system. And it does some damages to the system over the years. And I tell people, if you eat junk food over the years, why don't you think that something is going to happen? I don't understand.
Yeah,
One of the things
exactly.
as working at Coca-Cola when I was there, um, we did an experiment with Coca-Cola. I made sure that I don't drink soda at all. Um, I never had my kids drink it because I saw what it did. I used to work in the factory, so I saw exactly what it did. And one day we had put a chunk of meat we had put on this, stuck it in this thing with a rope, a piece of rope, and we watched it over a period of a couple of times and see what it would do. And it ate the meat from the inside out, and it was very fascinating watching this experiment as people, a bunch of the guys, we just wanted to take a look at it. And that changed my life forever. I made sure that I never um, touched soda at all in any form. There's one movie that I tell people to go look at. It's called The Corporation. And it talks about the advent of processed food into the American system, into the world, actually, and how they came about doing that and the purpose. And when they started doing that, they can pinpoint to the day when cancer and all these things began um, to become even much more dangerous and prevalent within our society. Many other diseases based on the processed food, and all it is, it's drugs that they're getting you and I hooked, causing a behavior so that we will not move from it, and it in the process it destroys us. So here you are, you got a chance to, and you understood for you were able to wean yourself off, as you stated, and as you began to wean yourself off, you began to see the changes within your life and also in your body, and your sleep patterns and all of those things began to benefit you. So as you're moving through, Roman, and you're getting a glimpse of all of these new things happening in your life, how did you deal with your friends that were, if you say, the old boys that were eating all the good food, as they say, all the
Yeah.
processed stuff, the Cheetos and the sweet stuff that you like? How was that relationship with your boys, if you will, as you began to move forward towards a cleaner lifestyle?
Yeah. So it was crazy because I would always be tempted, of course, to have that, next Cheeto or that next Twizzler or just that next, Hershey's candy bar.
Yeah,
So whatever it may have been, I was always tempted into
yeah.
having at least a little bit of it, if not the whole thing. So that made it hard being around people that didn't eat clean or healthy like I was beginning to. But I, luckily for me, I have a pretty strong, willpower. And even back then, I was already developing that. What I have now, I was developing it right around that time, that strong
Yeah.
willpower. And after developing that, it made it pretty easy to ultimately say no. But at the very start, I'll admit it was pretty difficult to not want to, dive in and have even a little bit of it.
Hmm.
I'll admit at the very, very start, though, I did cheat a little, I guess, it happens. But after I'd say
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
times of hanging out with my friends, though, I didn't really cheat anymore, and it didn't really, phase me. I would eat my, grilled chicken salad, or didn't even have to be that. Could have been, chicken with rice, or could be, just a clean sandwich like whole grain bread and turkey, low sodium turkey breast with maybe some, lettuce or spinach and honey
Yeah.
mustard. I would usually have maybe something like that, something more, nutritious, filling, protein filled, healthy. And then they might have, I don't know, their Twizzlers
Hmm.
or their Captain Crunch or Reese's or whatever they wanted to have. So that's something that, I
Yeah.
really was dealing with a lot. I was basically around my friends, I was eating healthier. They were always eating the unhealthier foods. And that's kind of the trend that continued for much of my childhood and teenage years and the rest of my, um, really the rest of my life up to this point. I mean, I have some friends now that are more healthy because I do believe that being around healthier people is paramount to you and your overall life and well being, because if you're
Yeah.
hanging around people that don't care about their bodies, whether it's, with fitness and working out or just nutrition in general, it can take a toll on you. Luckily for
Yeah.
me, it doesn't affect me as much as it might for some other people. The environment doesn't really affect me too much, but I'll admit it still is better for me and anyone else out there that's listening to be more conscious of what you're, doing, who you're hanging out with, and what they're doing with their bodies too.
Yeah. Yeah. They said bad friends corrupt good morals and stuff like that. It's a
Yeah.
this is what I tell people. You have to look at it in another individual, not just as a friend. It's a belief system that you're hanging out with. It's not just an individual. It's a belief system. It's a mindset because that individual houses all of that. And so, what type of mindset do you want to hang out with? Do you want to hang out with a mindset that will expand who you are? Do you want to hang out with a mindset that will, for lack of a better word, just keeps drinking of you and taking, and you're never able to expand? You find yourself always contracted in that relationship. And so I look at my relationships as, do I want to be there? Because I talked earlier about time. Another commodity that we spend is our energy, and yeah, it's a valuable commodity as well. And I've learned to not to be with certain people because I don't want to expend too much of that energy with that, because I know they don't value it, and um, it's not of value to them, and so I choose not to even waste my time. And so I had to learn those type of lessons as you're growing and you're doing all of your changes, and you're able to stand. Um, I have this Chinese proverb that I just came to mind: everything in moderation, including moderation. And so we have to learn how to balance our life. As you're moving and learning how to balance, Roman, how did you begin to move from that space of learning your craft, learning how to um, discipline yourself and this new lifestyle, to now begin to navigate to a space by which you are going to um, bring others in, to teach them, to start changing, helping them change their mindsets and all of these different things? How did you get to there, to where you are today?
Yeah. So, really, after seeing the positive benefits and changes it had on me, and really just the positive outcome as a whole, that really inspired me to want to do the same for other people, especially after, you know, after I got healthy and I got myself right, so to speak. I started looking at some inspirational, motivational
Mm-hmm.
YouTubers too, because while I was going along my health journey and fitness journey, I was also pursuing my acting and modeling right around that same time. And right when I got serious about my health journey was right around the time I got serious about, doing acting and modeling. And so, as you know, acting and modeling is pretty
Hmm.
rough to get into and pursue. But all
Yeah.
that, all the challenges from that industry, it made me want to look at inspirational and motivational YouTubers. And after seeing several of those, that actually inspired me to want to help inspire others, not just with their minds and bodies, but just with any
Yeah.
goals and any dreams that they have for themselves too. So that made me want to really just go all in and
Yeah.
go all out. And I've always been a humanitarian at heart, I would say. At the very start of my life, I was always very passionate and very, appreciative for being
Hmm.
able to help other people out. It's always been really rewarding for me. So that also was a huge thing too. Just, I guess you could say, releasing that, inner passion that's always been instilled in me from day one, and just going all out and helping other people with whatever
Yeah.
dreams and goals they have, especially with their health and fitness goals, because I didn't want other people to also meet that same fate that my grandpa, faced. So that also really
Yeah.
inspired me to want to just go out there and change the world, so to speak.
How was that when you decided that you wanted to go out? Because deciding that you want to go out and going out is two different things. How did
Yeah,
you go out um, once you decided? Do you remember how did you acquire your first client, if you will? And how did you
yeah.
feel when you got your first client internally? What was that conversation you were having with yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I did some in-person training, but really all my clients are really just online. And how I did it was I started pumping out motivational and inspirational videos, just basic general self-help inspirational videos that would just pump people up and help them basically be prepared for anything in life that might throw
Hmm.
at them. And then after doing that, and then getting into some fitness content and giving out fitness tips with carousels, pics, also, tips and videos of how to lose
Yeah.
weight, some benefits that intermittent fasting could provide for certain people, and just a bunch of different health topics. And then, stories of
Hmm.
my life and how it transformed me to from being skinny, not very confident, to becoming more confident with my, overall self and life too. By posting that content and providing value, that helped me acquire the clients that I have today. And that also helped me acquire my first client. And when I got my first client, it was great. It was life
Nice.
changing because it actually gave me confidence, because I was like, okay, so this is something I could do, not just as a business, but online, and I can
Yeah.
help these people. So it helps me, obviously make a living, but it also helps me even more help other people out, which is even better and even more rewarding. So knowing that I could do that
Yeah.
and then have them just change their overall mindset and thinking, and then also their bodies with what they're doing physically, and also what they're putting in their bodies
Yeah.
from food and drinks too. And just knowing that I could be that coach, that mentor, and that person that would just help hold them accountable through thick and thin, no matter what. That really did inspire me, and it really changed me, honestly. I mean, that was super cool knowing that I could be there for them, but it made me feel really good. And then from
Yeah.
there I just kept flowing and wanted to go to the next person and help them out. And from there it's been
Yeah.
great, just being able to help person after person, but one body at a time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I my lifestyle is the intermittent fasting 24, 20 and 4. I do it. I've been doing it now for what, about a year or so. uh,
Oh, cool.
20 hours, and I have a 4 hour window that I eat. And, it's for me, it changed my life um, in the sense where I don't. Anyway, I incorporate fasting in my life. I usually fast about a 30-day every year. I'll just pick a month and do a 30-day fast. And within that year also, depending on where I'm at and what's going on in life and my surroundings, I incorporate 7 days and stuff like that. So I'll do it without just water, But that's me. That's just
Nice.
a part of my lifestyle. So I
Yeah.
tell people make sure you don't do that because some people do that and then die. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but it's just a
Intermittent
part of
fasting.
my
Yeah.
lifestyle for many years. Yeah. So
Nice.
here you are. You're incorporating all of these things. You got your client. Talk to me about one of your situations, Roman, where you had someone and you talked about uh, bringing information other than just uh, the stuff about weight and eating. You're bringing other motivational tools to them and to assist them to make some adjustments. When invite us to one of those conversation, if you will, Roman, when you were talking with someone that when they showed up, you help them to adjust, if you will, their perspective and usher them into a new direction for their life.
Yeah. So outside of just the, basics of fitness and working out and eating healthy, one thing is one of the clients that I remember just recently, they were struggling with wanting to or feeling like they should stay consistent. And they were struggling with, you know, not seeing results right away, but not understanding that it's a process, it's a
Yeah,
journey, it's a process. It's not something you're going to have overnight or right away. It's not a quick fix by any means. So basically, having them understand that, just letting them be aware of that first mentally and having them understand that fully. After that, I helped guide them and coach them into understanding that, it's not just a process, but understand that you will get there and reverse your mindset into understanding that you are making progress. You're one step closer each and every day. So even if it doesn't look like it, you are making progress. Even if you're not losing weight on the scale, you're still seeing progress in the mirror, or even if you're not seeing it visually, you're
yeah,
you're going to feel it. You're going to feel better. You're going to sleep better. You're at least going to feel like you have more energy. And after that, that definitely did, impact their mental state. And it helped make them want to stick with the program that much more and actually do the workouts that much more. And then also telling them too, and this is a trick I actually use for most of my clients, if not all of them. I tell them to look in the mirror and have them say
yeah,
that you're a badass. And I just have them look into the mirror and say that to themselves, basically. So what that does is it actually subconsciously tricks your mind into believing that. And it's really cool. I mean, it sounds very simple and
hmm
it sounds cliche to certain people, perhaps, but it is very effective. And there's a lot to be said about that because when you talk, to yourself, not like in a crazy way, but when you do practice positive self talk and even
yeah,
positive self
yeah.
affirmations, that'll
Oh
make it a
yeah,
lot easier to stick with anything in life, whether it's a fitness regimen, healthy eating, or just any goal that you might have with career, business, or relationships. When you actually, you know, talk to yourself in a good way, and instead of thinking those negative thoughts, or, those negative thoughts will come up, but instead of like fixating on those negative thoughts and believing those negative thoughts, especially reversing your mindset and just deconstructing all that from what you're thinking at the moment and knowing that you can actually be better than what you're thinking. And instead of saying, I can't do this, just say, I can do this, or, I will do this. Maybe not today, but I will do it tomorrow. I will get it done. This week, I will get it done. I will be proactive and I will not be reactive. So basically the opposite of what you're thinking and just being hyper aware of what you're thinking. That helps a lot. And that's what's helped a lot of my clients, just going from one mindset to the other and having them shift it. Even if it wasn't right away, having them just practice the mindset shift each and
Yeah.
every day. And over time, they really did notice huge results. And I also let them know that, these gradual small changes, they add up to monumental, mountainous changes ultimately.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. All of you guys that are listening to Roman and I, we're talking about a process, a journey. We're not talking about the mindset that we are programmed, even with the fast food mindset that one comes to life. There's no fast food mindset when it comes to life. Life is a process, it's a journey. It took you many years to gain the weight, 30, 40 years. And you come with an expectation that you are going to lose it in 2 weeks. I mean, that's just absolutely crazy stuff. And so, you that are listening, it's a process. Just it took you a certain mindset to get you to that 30 year. You have to relinquish that mindset now to create another new 30 years of your life. And as Roman's saying, it's one step at a time. Make one step. Release your expectation of 2 weeks and commit to the journey, to the one step process in your mind. It is talking, and he laid out all of it before you. It is encouraging you. Why not? Why not encourage you? Why not talk to yourself? Yeah, I am badass. I mean, talk to yourself because if you don't talk to you, someone is talking to you. So why not you? Encourage yourself and look at yourself and tell yourself that you can do it. I used to tell my kids when they say to me they can't do it, I said, don't ever say that word to us. In our conversation, you would say, at this time, I do not have the enough information that is necessary to get me to the other side.
It's good.
This was when they were studying homework and stuff like that, and I would walk with them, and I would tell them, I said, you just tell them, don't say that word. That's it. At this time, I do not have the information. So what we're going to do then is go and get the information so that you can make the adjustment. So don't ever say you can't. You can. There's a story in the Bible that Jesus says, all things are possible to that man who believes. The limitation is in us, not in anything else, is what you believe. If you believe it, it is possible because we are that great. And so I want you guys that are struggling with your mindset. It doesn't have to be just weight and body and all this thing, because Roman is talking about much more. And I want you guys that are struggling with your thoughts, and those that are also with your weight, you want to change your weight, you want to change your body, you want to eat differently. I have someone that is here that is able to assist you. We're going to provide all of Roman's stuff because I want you guys to get in touch with him and so that he can help you to create this new life. You've made a decision to change and you need some help. And that help is a person who's been there before so that they can recognize when you're getting frustrated because guess what? They were frustrated at one point too. So they can see it and they can walk with you and encourage you as well. But don't forget to encourage yourself because you're precious. You're one of a kind. So, Roman, I want to thank you for coming to Threads of Enlightenment, man. This has been very good. And again, you guys that are listening to us, I'm going to provide all your stuff. I want you to get to Roman and have him begin to um, create a new mindset in you so that you can get your desired outcome, man, because that's what turns us both on. I know it'll turns him on as well to see you get your desired outcome as well as I. So I want to thank you so much, Roman, for coming to Threads, man.
Yeah, thank you. It was great having this conversation, and it was great diving deep. I like it.
Thanks, man. I enjoy it because I believe there are people that are listening out there that needs us to go deep. People have been dealing with superficial conversations. People are hurting especially in those areas that you were talking about. They're not sure where they want to go. They're looking in the mirror, not satisfied. They've tried 12 different diets, don't understand that it's a process. There's much more involved. You have to go deep and to make them aware that it is there, the answer is there. But you have to go deeper than just looking at a couple of recipes and doing some shakes in the morning and expecting the weight to drop off. It's something else is a root cause there that needs to be explored, and that's what Roman does. He'll help you identify those root causes and help you to become victorious and create that new space that you desire. Roman, again, thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you very much.